Well, howdy, hi, and welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. We are, of course, back with the official English broadcast of the Overwatch Pacific Championship. I like myself, so I'm going to reintroduce myself. My name is Matt Pixie, and of course, joining me here is Kevin Walker and Matt Smite Ross. We've just seen a bit of an interesting shake-up, and now another team may be looking to shake up. Is, of course, SunSister. Let's take a look at them while we continue on a chat, and they're going to be coming up against AHQ, who just had a much shakier performance than any of us expected against Detonator.
So at the top of the day, I said, look, AHQ, 2 home games in a row against both the Japanese teams who are at the bottom of the table. So I say, look, they're gonna win these matches, pretty much guaranteed. What they need to do, though, is bury them, just demolish them. And that's not what happened against Detonator.
Definitely not. I mean, maybe it's mean to say it, but we kind of talked about this as a bit of score inflation. Let's take a look at AHQ there, because it is their home day today.
If you kind of forgot who the members are, we're going to start things off with Cowman, the player of the game for the last match, specifically on that Hog, and of course Dizzy, their primary DPS player on that on the soldier pick mostly.
Then also Eddie Boss, who was actually AVRL's pick for the MVP of that series.
No, it wasn't. It was Erikin.
Erikin, sorry.
Well, there we go. There is Erikin.
The E name.
The other E.
Eric Boss.
Eric Boss, the actual MVP.
I just want to go ahead and say it. Lazy Titan looks like, he looks pretty
Lazy
fit.
Boss.
He does not look lazy at all. He looks like a very active young man.
Well, he was my pick for MVP for that series. And then Carries, who actually gets a ton of other MVPs in a lot of other series, wasn't playing during that match against Detonator though, so oh well. But Crappy is going to round it out as the support, that Lucio bot, and also the Corvette.
AHQ Esports Club.
Yeah, very, again,
That almost felt like a
pretty
perfume
dramatic
commercial.
opening.
Right, the new scent from Hugo Boss.
The new set from Eddie Boss.
Yeah, well, in any case, it's going to be AHQ, and yeah, like we said, they had an unexpected result against Detonator. It was still a one result, a win, I suppose. And now here, some thoughts from the captains.
就还是老话一句啊，就是我们一样，就是会全力打好每场比赛。只是我们因为其实我们还是要练很多阵型啊，所以就是尽可能在每次比赛或是每次练习的时候去尝试一些新的风格、新的体系，然后去增进自己。
We're going to do our best, but we've still got a lot to learn, so we're going to look to learn as much as we can out of every match.
先ほどデトネーターに1マップ取られて、結構疲れてるようなんで、ここで初勝利もぎ取れるように、突き詰めていこうと思います。よろしくお願いします。あとうちのおでんくんが髪の毛青に染めてるんで注目してください。よろしくお願いします。
好的，因为太长了，前面大概是说，他说刚刚那个 Detonator 有跟他们说。
Well, there you go. That was interesting thoughts, actually, I think, out of AHQ's captain, though. Like,
So what he said was, I think I've only caught a little bit because the hostess translates for him, and she said something along the lines of, they obviously saw Detonator's performance so far, so they want to try and repeat that if they can, and really Detonator kind of leading the way on that hand. Zetman also mentioned something about Odin-kun, but that part wasn't translated by the hostess because it was kind of an add-on at the end. And oh yeah, by the way, Zetman, the main tank player of SunSister as well. So usually Night Owl would be the one sort of getting on center stage for that, but today, Zetman.
Interesting. In any case, yeah, look, AHQ carry their most recent performance into this. And look, if they wanted to bury both of these teams, I think now they want to bury SunSister even more than they did before, right? Because they've got even more to prove in a strange kind of way. I said at the top of this, a lot of these matches for AHQ would be not just inflating the score, but being sure to not show any more weakness until they come back up against the other top 3, arguably plus matchy teams. They've already showed a bit of weakness, so...
Yeah, a little bit terrifying, right? So against SunSister, it's a bit of another thing, right? AHQ might be out for blood, out for revenge after that shaky result. But coming up against SunSister, who just seeing their fellow Japanese team do so well, so unexpectedly against AHQ, who are the top of the table, they might have a bit of a morale boost as well, really going into this.
Yeah, and of course, to refresh you on AHQ, no substitutions between the two matches, running the same lineup there, and
far less dramatic of an intro.
Yeah. With any luck, we'll get a bit of a detailed breakdown as well of their particular picks.
Yeah,
is there anything we kind of want to highlight out of these guys?
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, they did also mention this is now where they're trying to reinsert Eddie Boss kind of back into the team after they had a really long run with carries. So,
well, here is SunSister continuing on, running XQQ. Also, Zetman, Elu, Night Owl back on for today. Mollis and Odinkun to round it out in their 2 flex spots. And interesting, actually, because initially when he was brought out, XQQ did replace Night Owl. Now it's kind of interesting that they're running both of them.
Night Owl then replaces Kira 44, who we haven't seen for quite some time now.
Yeah, the other thing, interesting thing about SunSister I want to bring up is while XQQ may have felt really amazing, we'll get to him a bit later, Mollis has also been pretty stunning.
Speaking of stunning, Dizzy on the first 2 picks that we see here, pretty stunning. Third one started to really pick up on Route 66, I believe.
Yeah,
that
very
sort
much.
of 4.5 kill streak he had was really impressive. But beyond those moments, it's quite rare. They're very few and far between.
Yeah, certainly, yeah. But I mean, look, an upswing is still an upswing, right? Because up until that point, we'd sort of much maligned his Tracer play. We really felt he couldn't go toe-to-toe with some of the other superstar Tracers in this tournament, notably Blank's I Eat You Up and Flash Wolves' Bacon Jack. So having a bit of an upswing is still a good enough thing. And look, Dizzy now has plenty of time to kind of bridge that gap. So certainly got to be feeling better after that performance against Detonator, at least towards the end.
And I think AHQ, wow, it's been a tough day for him, but I will sort of maybe give it to opening match jitters, maybe. They're going to have to, like Smite said, really show a much better performance against SunSister, because if SunSister sort of have a similar run to Detonator, that doesn't bode well for AHQ's future for this round robin.
Exactly. If SunSister can kind of prey on those same weaknesses, if they can do exactly what Detonator just did, then every team can. And the other teams, let's be frank, are going to do it better. And we could see the beginning of a massive downswing for AHQ.
And of course, Mollis, who Smite's mentioned.
Yeah, this is the man that I was talking about before. Pretty amazing Tracer play for SunSister. You know, you compare him up to XQQ, where XQQ, we feel like, just hasn't been performing ever since some of his debut matches, and Mollis has really been picking up a lot of the slack and just getting a lot of good results out of that Tracer play especially, but also on that Genji.
There's Odinkun.
Yeah, so
Right here, that's the guy.
Odinkun's actually,
that one.
he's been flexing onto Soldier a decent amount. So from what we've seen so far in the SunSister games, he's now playing, I would say, more Soldier than the actual flex tank. So
They're actually all offense. The last 4 players have all been offense.
yeah. Maybe that's SunSister's strategy. They're just like, we're going to go all DPS.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And actually, interesting to note about them as well as Zetman, they've been putting him on Winston, and sometimes they use him on Reinhardt, but he is unlike most of the other dedicated tanks in this tournament, where they run them on either Winston or Reinhardt. He has a very different pool beyond that Winston, which even does actually include some DPS.
Speaking of different pools as well.
Oh boy.
Back to XQQ, right?
I knew it.
We saw it at the end. I mean, I don't even care what his first 2 picks were, because the third one was May. And
They knew like 7 for him or something.
It would take up it actually extends into the next guy.
What they do is they screenshot the entire hero selection bar in the selection screen.
That's how they do
Overwatch.
it. Yeah, XQQ, the man who can play anything. His pool is every pool.
The fact that May creeps up to the 3rd most played on one of their DPS players is
boy.
pretty amazing, right? Because it comes into play
That was a pun.
on Control. We saw it on Lijiang Tower. It comes into play on Hybrid, King's Row. We've seen it on Attack, no less. On Assault, I'm pretty sure we've seen it on Eichenwald, perhaps.
We have actually. Yeah, right, we have.
Hanamura as well.
We've just seen it everywhere.
We've just seen, May, just
And then-
all over the place.
You're just about to name every
then-
single map, and I just stopped you.
And so then, that's just his May picks.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot more.
Yeah, exactly. So once again, AHQ's first map pick, because it is their home day, and once again they're going to Lijiang Tower. And we talked a little bit about why this is kind of a bit of hiding strategy. Look, they're just going to go to the pretty stock standard place to dispense with these teams. But I mean, it was a tighter thing against Detonator, and maybe SunSister will do the same, because they do actually have pretty decent showings on Control.
And that's the thing that we also brought up earlier is, are they going to do the same against SunSister? Because the difference is, this is SunSister's preferred pick. They want to go to Lijiang. If it was their pick, they would also pick Lijiang. So you're kind of playing into SunSister a little bit, which is, you know, for AHQ, do you take the risk or not? Obviously they are, but I guess the real question is it going to be worth it?
The pros that come from this as well are also, it's the most recent Control map that they've played, right? They've just played it against Detonator, and while it looks more shaky than we would have expected coming out for AHQ, it was still a 3-1, it was still a victory for them, and any mistakes that they did make on Lijiang Tower, they have that fresh in their mind right now. They're sitting there remembering it, and I'm very certain they'll have gone back, had a regroup, had a talk with not just the team, but everyone else involved in AHQ, and said, these are the things we need to fix in Lijiang Tower, because this is what just happened. And now they can take it into this series as well. So it's a little bit of hiding the information, like you don't want to show any of the other control maps as well, but also freshest in their mind.
Yeah, and I mean, they would have planned this from the top of the night as well, no doubt. They would have gone, right, look, we get first pick both times. We're playing Lijiang Tower today, and like I said, we talked about why part of it is just hiding other maps they could potentially play, because of course it was Oasis they went to against Flash Wolves. That was Flash Wolves' home day, but AHQ, we feel, are a team that is favored in Nepal, but we also said that picking it again would pretty much confirm that. Well, it now has, so I guess the question we need to ask is, given that AHQ will have gone back, done exactly what you just said, what does SunSister now need to do to actually have even the same kind of performance as Detonator, if not better?
Well, SunSister will have done the exact same thing, right, but in reverse. They would have watched that AHQ game on Lijiang Tower, and then straight after, or even during it, of course, they would be saying, this is what AHQ are doing wrong. This is what we can do, this is where we can capitalize and start beating them. And this is also what Detonator were doing right. This is where they got advantages. This is what we can do as well. So the fresh in your mind advantage applies to SunSister as well.
Yeah, SunSister, if they can sort of do what Detonator was sort of doing quite successfully, which is separating Dizzy Spawn from the rest of his members and just kind of separating Dizzy out from the rest of the team as well. You do start to see AHQ's power really fall off when Dizzy isn't there with the rest of his team. There is a little bit of a trap there as well, as we saw in the end of Route 66 when they did finally go for Dizzy. It ended up being Lazy Time go for the Protect anyway, and they can secure it. So it's kind of a 50-50, but when you do succeed with that, and you keep your own DPS safe, in that case it was Anakin on the back lines, getting the Deadeyes from the other side of the map on Volskaya, really well played by him as well. So that's the kind of thing that would really push Detonator ahead, and SunSister might be able to execute with perhaps XQQ or maybe Mollis as well to do that.
Yeah, that all being said though, I mean, one of the strengths of AHQ is, unlike a lot of teams, they have a great DPS player. They're not only that good DPS player, so even if you do play Dive the Dizzy, there is still a lot that AHQ can do to overcome you, so it's certainly not just a one-dimensional path for SunSister. There is a bit more than that. In any case, going to be jumping on into Lijiang Tower. Once again, thank you very much for joining us, Smite. We'll see you on the other side, as it were.
And the thing is, to bring up here very quickly as we get into Lijiang, is A, this is a preferred map for SunSister, but also B, I mentioned earlier, Control may be the weaker game mode for AHQ overall. So,
there's the
let's see how that goes.
I don't know, do you call that triple DPS?
It's like 2.5. It's like 2.5 DPS.
Yeah, 2.5 DPS. SunSister, the only team running 2.5 DPS.
And actually, putting Dizzy onto McCree again is going to be really good. Cowman not starting with the Zarya this time, and I like the damage potential out of Cowman a lot when he's playing Hog. And again, so far, the Mei wall not really doing too much. Delays AHQ from getting control to start things off with, but look at this. Dizzy already in control positionally against all of SunSister, and I'm not really seeing XQQ on the Mei pay off so far. Crappy with a double kill. How did he get that? That looked like an environmental.
Yeah, it certainly did. Well, I mean, it must be, surely, but in any case, hey, AHQ looking absolutely devastating.
AHQ played it really patiently, which is exactly what they need to do against the Mei. Wait for the wall to come out. Don't let yourself get baited by the wall. Don't let yourself get separated if you can help it. And then once the wall is down, start to get those pickouts. And Eric got the first pickout, which I believe might have been onto Elu or might have been onto Naito, one of the supports if I'm not mistaken. And that's kind of all they need. And for SunSister, if they're playing Mei still, they're blocked up right now. They have to get out of this chokehold. So
yeah, look, this is exactly where the Mei is at her weakest, right? Because Mei wants to be on the other side of this, waiting for someone to go past so you can wall them off in their team. Instead, they're going to have to find another way to get in. They've got this kind of half dive.
You got this.
Elu gets picked off already. They tried to kind of force AHQ into a spot where they couldn't retreat, but AHQ were just happy to take the fight where they were standing instead. Didn't get anything with the Deadeye because, well, SunSister were already dead or backed off.
I mean, there's a cheeky way you can play Mei with the Ice Wall to get yourself out of a choke like that, which is essentially to block off the attacking line of sight for the AHQ holders right there, then try, well, gets hooked off the map, Cowman. Very nice against XQQ. And then just sort of break on through and split the defending team up for AHQ, which is what they're kind of trying to do. You actually see Cowman still taking that left side positioning as he backs off it.
Yeah,
Getting a hook there is a free kill.
they've got the ultimates as well to just kind of sit tight and hold here. So it's all on SunSister to break through. Now, they have managed to slip Mollis past, which does force HQ to a tighter spot. And HQ actually committing to the fight while Mollis tried to sneak the point, but Dizzy was wise to it. This is a good kind of breakout by SunSister, rather, because they did put AHQ in just enough disarray and actually responded to that air shatter very nice. And looking to set up on this point now. If they can deal with Dizzy, then they should be able to secure this. But yeah, he's staying because he received the nano boost and feels like he has the healing to do it. But this is SunSister on the point, right? It is Dizzy attacking back onto it, but he's able to do it anyway. Waited for long enough for the team to respawn. SunSister did not cap the point in time, and actually, I think AHQ are about to take it.
Yeah, that was something crazy coming up from Dizzy because SunSister had the opportunity to completely go on him. The nano boost kept him alive. The additional healing kept him alive, and he's still in there, killing absolutely everyone. The final ultimates will probably be coming out of AHQ as well. Pulse bomb kills do come out for SunSister, but a little bit too late.
It's the Dizzy show. Look at the man go.
Welcome to the gun show. Get your tickets.
Yeah. Welcome to the gun show. I wouldn't know what that's like. In any case, that was pretty convincing. Look, if we're saying
it's a lot more convincing.
If we were saying they want to bury SunSister, well, they've already got a solid foot deep in that grave.
I'll tell you what, it's like burying SunSister and making them dig their own grave. Because XQQ starting off with the May. XQ starting with the May is like handing SunSister the shovel, and XQ kind of just, he went to work, didn't he? Straight into that ground.
Yeah, pretty much. Like they gave him the shovel, and then Dizzy smacked them with the butt of his gun to make them shovel. Like that was slave labor.
Oh, we're gonna see something a little bit different now. XQ does bring out the Fire, and the difference here is Detonator knew don't bring out the Fire against any hit scan Dizzy plays. SunSister may just end up paying for this.
They very much may. Look, AHQ are one of the teams that is really good at dealing with this Pharah, so yeah, running a triple DPS here. There's no 2.5 about it. This is just a triple DPS, so interesting.
This is the full 3 out of 3. Already, look at XQ's health. We can't even see him, but if you just look on the top bar, he's getting sufficiently pressured out every single time. Odinkin's trying to find an entry on the back line. XQ has to play on the ground now. He doesn't feel safe in the air whatsoever. This is extremely difficult for SunSister to try and break through. Cowman already picking up the kill on Tamala, so that's 2 DPS left out of 3 for SunSister. Not a lot of tanks left, specifically because they're all being killed. I mean, this is falling apart for SunSister really quick.
It is absolutely devastating. Look, AHQ, like I said, they know how to react to the Pharah. They just fought where the Pharah couldn't.
Exactly, and Dizzy's taken very much all the ground he needs here. Takes down Mollis, takes down XQQ, and even Odinkin right at the end. This is why you do not run stuff like Pharah, especially without a Mercy against Dizzy on a map like this.
Yeah, well, he's already going to go ahead and swap off to the Genji, but it is SunSister fighting from behind now. And look, they couldn't even do it last time around on Control Center, so I don't know if they can necessarily do it on Gardens. In a good spot to start it off with anyway, but haven't really closed up any further kills aside from picking Eddie Boss, and Cowman is keeping the pressure on the backside. Getting 2 with the Pulse Bomb was almost icing on the cake because he practically killed them anyway.
HQ definitely running over SunSister. By now, Detonator had already capped, had already maybe pressured AHQ out. We were sort of, flipping overtime almost, but AHQ just looks so comfortable here. They don't even look like they're concerned.
Yeah.
And I'm not concerned for them currently either.
They look like they may have just yawned. In any case, SunSister, this is their opportunity to do it with the Transcendence out of Eddie Boss as well. Keeping Odinkin topped up, double sound barrier. They're just, mirroring ultimate. SunSister barreling to the point now. Mollis did unfortunately go wide, but here's going to be Odinkin opening up with his tac visor. Does not quite find Cowman to start it off with. Doesn't really find anyone. Finally finds Cowman at the end of it, but that was time he could have spent killing other people, and it was time Erican spent killing the rest of his team, and again, SunSister fall flat.
And like I said, Erican, he's the kind of Winston player that can secure these picks. And it's important because if AHQ DPSs go down, he needs to be the one to pick up the pace. And while the AHQ DPS is alive, it just ends up being extra kills for AHQ that, DPSs are getting other kills and Erican picks up kills somewhere else, which ends up being pretty much a full wipe in the favor of AHQ.
Yeah, well, here we go. Once again, Dizzy is sitting on this tac visor. They got the ultimate advantage. It's over 90%. Look, if SunSister do it here, it's going to be a shock. Oh, Zetman's already down.
Yeah, Erican's definitely still flexing out there. We're waiting for Dragonblade to come out of XQQ. He's going to have to use it.
It's going to be huge, and it's right into a tactical visor, which he does not shut down. So yeah, it goes down. Erican is actually the one who gets the kill credit. I mean, they were already in a 4 versus 6 when they went into there, but it was a 4 versus 6 with ultimate disadvantage. This is fast looking like it is on track to be a shutout.
This is why I pick Erikin as my MVP for AHQ. Just in general.
I'm seeing it now, Mr. Krabs.
I mean, well, Mr. Crappy, I've seen that too. But even before, in previous matches, specifically on Lijiang, specifically even on Gardens, you see the guy make kind of plays where he jumps with the Winston, and with the knockback on the landing of the jump, he'll get 2 environmental kills just seemingly out of nowhere. So the guy is just really well placed on Winston. If we've complimented Jongi before, and I still do, Erikin is very quickly catching up to Jongi on that list.
I wouldn't even say he's catching up to Jongi. I mean, I personally do rate him a little bit over Jongi just in terms of overall consistency. The unfortunate thing is then when he does make slip-ups, they tend to be a little bit more devastating than what, not even Jongi, but some of the other Winstons in this tournament as a whole do. But look, he hasn't made those slip-ups today, at least not so far. So I'm very much looking forward to him on this probable final map of Lijiang.
This is going to be the 4th hero pickup for XQQ now. He's played 4 different debatably DPSs.
That's why there isn't enough space on that like kind of opening scroll across the team. There isn't
We're not
enough
even
space
one map through yet, we've seen 4 picks.
And I guarantee you will see more by the time we're done. Well, the objective activated, but there we go. As that happens, the kills come through onto Mollis and Zetman, and Lazy Titan actually manages to bump XQQ off the edge, so Elu takes a dive.
So does
they are
Odinkin.
absolutely dismantled. Yeah, smart dive there from Odinkin and AHQ all over it. The second the point opened, they're like, all right, let's go ahead and win the fight now.
And that's a good timing to win the fight as well, because if you win the fight too early, you're going to go for the cap, but then you don't have any front door pressure. You're too busy capping, you don't have enough members trying to hold the choke. Getting the kills while the cap opens means you can easily cap while they're respawning and then hold the chokes anyway. So AHQ are now in a great spot to sort of get these entry kills, specifically with pulse bombs as well.
Yes, that's exactly what they're looking to do. Already pressuring the soldier off in his biotic field force. Oh wow, he's stuck around to die to that pulse bomb.
He could have escaped that.
Environmental kill Crappy onto Elu. That is fratricide right there. Lucio kills Lucio. SunSister actually came a little bit closer to capping there, but they certainly didn't come close to winning the fight, not by a long shot.
And that was the big Dong team wipe.
When half of your team is taking a dive at the end of fights, you are losing hard.
That's pretty accurate, I think. SunSister, they may have an opportunity to leverage a couple of ultimates here. Unfortunately, Sound Barrier is going to be available as well. So I think their goal is to definitely draw as many of AHQ's ultimates as possible. Play the macro game will probably be their opening.
Erikin pressuring XQQ to try and delay out the tac visor. He's now on the point with it available, but they've lost Night Owl and Elu. And again, XQQ is forced off to the side. He's got to go way over to get health back. Never mind, he's just going to dive. Like I said, if most of your team is diving at the end of the fights, then you're losing hard, and they're not even able to commit ultimates.
He's looking for the big health pack at the bottom of that pit.
Yeah. The health pack that puts you back up to full health because you die and respawn.
Guaranteed full heal.
There must be a really incredible medic.
So I'll tell you what. Macro-wise, SunSister are now in the spot where they are going to be comfortable. 5 ultimates, 1 being used now against roughly 4 ultimates on the other side. Unfortunately, time running out, so something has to happen. They have to consider contesting that cap.
Well, that's going to be double tac visor, and Dizzy is actually the one who gets pressured. SunSister do get a couple of key picks, but now Odinkin is going to be taken out of their mech. This is going to give Dizzy room to start fighting back onto this point as Cowman trying to get the mileage going. But actually, SunSister at last are starting to close this one out. XQQ wasn't really contested by Lazy Titan the same way that Dizzy was by Odinkin, and it actually pays off for SunSister.
I actually think AHQ made a mistake there, which was they wanted to take a fight outside. You see Dizzy's positioning. He was so far out from the point. Where SunSister wanted to take the fight was on the cap itself, because you're going to go into overtime. They got to contest regardless. AHQ could have set up a trap on the cap itself and then fought SunSister where they had to go. So I don't know. I wasn't too convinced by AHQ's hold there.
Yeah, that is a very, very correct observation. It is still a good position for AHQ, let's be honest. I mean, they got it up to 99%. They only need to win one more fight and they win the entire game. It's not just the map anymore. So this is about as good as it gets for AHQ. You know, the ball is completely in your end of the court.
It's also pretty good for SunSister so far.
Oh, there's one.
I mean, if they can keep it alive.
There's 2, 3, and are they going to take a dive or are they going to commit? I mean, surely they're going to
have to commit because it'll go overtime.
Oh, barely got the self-destruct off in time. Elu and Mollis are too low to really keep contesting this one too hard. It's got to be Elu getting forced out, and there we go. The secure to come through. AHQ set to get this cap now and looking to get the overtime absolutely destroyed. SunSister, no contest.
Not even any minimums to get there in time. It's in terms of timing, in terms of macro, it just all sort of started to fall towards AHQ. AHQ made maybe 2 minor mistakes there, which was they played into SunSister's macro game towards the 90% mark. I actually want to see this because this is probably that double boot kill that I missed out on earlier. There it is, wow. That'll really get you started.
Mission status sick.
But yeah, the 2 sort of minor mistakes that AHQ kind of made there is A, played into the massive macro push that SunSister were preparing for by blowing, well, they kind of had ults forced out, but at the same time, SunSister weren't committing, so it was kind of a 50-50 choice there. And then secondly, wanting to split their defense out where Dizzy and a couple members might have been a little bit outside, the other members went to contest point and execute, and the majority of SunSister went to go on the point because that's actually where they want to contest. So it was a bit of a split defense from HQ that didn't look super clean.
Yeah, SunSister, I really don't feel they gave themselves any opportunities there, let alone follow up on opportunities, either taken or given.
It's also hard to say, whether HQ have patched up some of the things that happened on the series against Detonator, because a lot of the things that went wrong for AHQ during that was Detonator fighting back and actually giving them an equal fight, getting a bit of an advantage, putting AHQ in a position where they have to back off, and then they didn't during that series, which was some of their bigger mistakes. In this series, I don't think I saw a single time where AHQ weren't just in control.
Yeah.
I mean, at
there
one
was no point where they needed to back off.
The one time that you just mentioned.
The 5 ultimates versus like 3 or 4 was probably
and so
when they were. But.
Yeah, that's one mistake that they've made, and obviously not something you want to make at all. You want to make 0 mistakes. But apart from that, SunSister never really pushed AHQ, apart from that one, to be in that situation. And even then, it was kind of just a clean fight where SunSister just won, held the point, and HQ were not at all in a bad position to just come back and retake the point. It's not like they stuck around trying to buy a few more percentage points on the point, just throwing ultimates, trying to still win the fight. They just cleanly lost it and came back later.
Yeah, let's be completely honest. That was a shutout. Let's actually take a look over some of those picks, because you touched on XQQ 4 things throughout that entire series, and they only played 3 maps. Yeah, they can't even show everything he picked.
You can't, because there's a Genji in there that was on Gardens that we don't see, so that didn't sort of make it to that list. You have to pick the guy that does the graph. He's like, wait, which 3 of his picks do I have to pick here? Because he's got a few.
Like, is this a weakness or a strength? Because normally we say flexibility is a strength, but it doesn't look like he's quite up to scratch on any of the numerous things he can play.
It's 2-part. It's A, it doesn't look like he's up to scratch, and secondly, it doesn't fit into what his team's goal is.
And second.
Yeah,
I just want to call you out on your inconsistent bullet pointing.
Okay, and then also I dot. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is a third point, is that, well, I mean, I guess it's actually kind of your second point, but the fact is, I think as a whole, SunSister weren't really running with the correct composition on Gardens, right? You guys said it in the middle of the game, right? Well, in fact, at the start of the game, that fire coming out from XQQ was something that Detonator didn't bring out. And hey, what was the map that Detonator won on Lijiang Tower? It was Gardens, wasn't it?
Was it Gardens? The one where they didn't bring a Pharah to bear, even though Amiken's got a great Pharah. Well, maybe SunSister just didn't take that lesson from Detonator.
Well, it put Detonator in a great position from the start, right? I mean, sure, things weren't even. They had to fight back tooth and nail to actually take that map off of AHQ. But SunSister, from the bat, they said, let's do what we're always going to do. Oh, look, it's not working. Let's change halfway through the map. And
they do that,
yeah.
And so they weren't exactly
they play
built.
Catch up a lot.
They weren't exactly built for the Genji. And you're right. Yeah, they put themselves in positions where they had to play catch up. Look, if they can't even close out fights where things are even, how do they even expect to play catch up? And you don't even want to be the team that is really good at playing catch up, because then what do you do when you're ahead? Which, funnily enough, is one of the other weaknesses we often see from SunSister.
I don't know. They don't usually get ahead that often. I think Detonator get ahead a lot more often.
Exactly. But when they do, I've never been here before.
The other thing for SunSister is you actually see them fail to get even trades in those sort of no ultimate or neutral kind of fights where you watch Detonator, they're getting trades in those neutral fights. No one specifically has an advantage.
Except for the end of Route 66.
Well, but somehow... Okay,
that was like a straight 2 minutes of no trades.
Okay, cool, but in a general sort of sense...
Sure, yeah.
Kings Road did get picked. We'll talk about that in a second, but in a general sense, Detonator get those trades in a very neutral fight. SunSister, they don't. They lose a couple of members, then half their team just starts taking a dive. So it's kind of a 50-50 thing. Do you go for the dive and just save and cut your losses where you can, or are you going to try and make those trades? Because if you can make those trades, it's technically better, but if you know you're not going to make the trades, it's better to take a dive. Unfortunately, SunSister, they're just taking a dive almost every single time.
King's Row is interesting. We touched on this actually last time against Detonator. You can't really take them to Numbani. You can't really take them to Hollywood, even though Detonator did try. I guess you can take them to King's Row. I'm surprised they didn't take them to Eigenwald.
It was a bit too weird.
I'm surprised they didn't take them to Eigenwald though, because I mean, even so, King's Row is still a good map for AHQ. It's one of those maps that everyone is fairly well practiced on. Like, I almost feel like SunSister are like putting a bullet in the chamber and handing AHQ a gun, going like, just stand it quick.
I mean, well, no. What it is SunSister picking their favorite map. So if you look at their picking history, Lijiang King's Row, very standard. This is what they want to pick. So they're not picking.
Everyone's picking history.
Okay, well, specifically
yes.
for SunSister, if you look at their track history, because they're picking they're not picking like, oh, how do we prevent AHQ from getting a good map? They're just saying we just want to play maps we're comfortable on.
It's also a map that XQQ is pretty comfortable bringing out the Mei on attack on. I think we have seen him on every single segment of King's Row on attack. You know, first point, second point, third point, time bank. He'll bring that Mei out.
Skirmish mode.
Yeah, skirmish mode.
The two teams go for a skirmish beforehand. XQQ plays Mei.
Uprising. Brings out the Mei there. He plays all heroes because he can't play Mei on the main one. But
he changes heroes during Uprising. That mode's gone though. They can't even play it anymore.
But for real, I think recently he's been a lot more disciplined in changing up. There was what was the weekend that we casted together where it looked like it was mystery heroes because every death he would change a hero.
It's like he spun the wheel.
Later on though.
Now Mei.
It looked like literally every single death he changed, and now he's disciplined enough that he will stick on to something for at least a full round through if possible. So.
for at least half of a map of Lijiang Tower, he will stick on Genji.
Look, it's really all going to come out here, right? On King's Row,
Sure.
If we see the Mei on attack, then XQQ, he's just his own guy, and he's going to be doing his own thing.
He plays Hanzo too.
Exactly, yeah. Hanzo has come out on attack on point 1 for King's Row as well. I don't think he does anything fancy on defense, which is a little bit of a sigh of relief for SunSister fans, because it's just too risky. When it works okay, but when it doesn't work, we saw what happened on Lijiang Tower.
You know, this almost feels like we're like gatekeeping SunSister here a little bit. It's like, oh, you're an XQQ fan? Really? Name 5 of his picks.
Actually, what's interesting about his Hanzo is that he's gotten more kills on Dragon Strike than I've seen from like any other Hanzo, and he doesn't even need the Graviton Surge.
No, we don't exactly see a lot of Hanzos.
We don't, but of the ones we do, the Dragon Strikes are like utter fails, right? We've seen from our history of casting Overwatch, most of the Dragon Strikes we've seen have just been total failures, even when there's a Graviton Surge backing it up. But XQQ gets the kills without Graviton Surge, so that's something he's got.
Completely right there. Well, once again, we will see you on the other side, Smite, as we go ahead and take a trip to the United Kingdom, specifically King's Row, where it is actually going to be SunSister on the defense first, without a Mei.
So yeah, they're going to start with pretty standard here, triple tank as well. Protect the XQQ, going to pull a bit of an AHQ strat, and hopefully they can pull this one off as well. They're going to need to be quite disciplined to really, I think, do the successfully.
AHXQQ. I don't know. Well, in any case, AHQ already moving around to this backside. They managed to slip both Cowman and Dizzy in behind this point, and actually they're forcing SunSister's hand here. They're now looking like they're attacking this point.
AHQ are really good at sort of flipping the script like this. They did it on Hollywood against Detonator consistently as well.
Spin doctors.
Kinda.
Well, look at Dizzy's just running circles around them. I mean, look, if we were struggling to Raiders Tracer before, well, there it is. Lazy Titan getting hooked, though, could just be all that SunSister need to kind of get themselves a foothold in this one, and they do start to close it out now. Actually, not as convincingly as they do lose Moller, so HQ still plenty to go on, but XQQ at last sort of able to stay safe. Oh, good pick onto Dizzy getting Zetman there, but yeah, HQ are kind of out of gas for this one. I don't know if I like him throwing out that pulse bomb there.
If the HQ actually plan to go for a retake, then I do like it, because The cap hasn't actually gone through yet, to my knowledge. It's still sitting on 0. So if AHQ go for the full if AHQ can sort of respawn and reinforce quickly enough, it will be worth it.
Yeah, I suppose I can see that logic. In any case, didn't work out. They're going to come through a second time now, but already looking good. Cowman opening up with the, wow, the Dragon Blade is phenomenal, is what it is, as they really start to clean house. Finally goes down, and they had to commit a lot of defensive ultimates out of SunSister, but AHQ is still alive in this one, even as XQQ gets a mech and a kill. So they're forced back here. SunSister and AHQ are going to sit themselves up on the point. Dizzy is still harassing this back line as they try and back away. It's going to be the self-destruct to come out here, and AHQ, they need to commit to this one because they can.
They haven't, HQ have not killed XQQ yet, which is a big part of why they're not being able to break through. Again, this is the defend XQQ, protect him strategy, and they're so far doing a pretty good job of that. I don't know whether that's because AHQ just are not able to get onto XQQ, or if it's because, I don't know, he's just doing a really great job and his teammates are so protecting him.
Well, I suppose they got a third, and unfortunately AHQ lost Dizzy right at a crucial time. I feel like they did everything they needed to do, Dizzy and Calman on the side, and then they kept doing it instead of, committing a little bit more to the point, or at the very least getting the team to commit to the point. In any case, now SunSister do have a bit more room to play with.
Should be a whole commit coming out pretty soon, I would expect.
Well, it's going to be the Earth Shatter first, but they don't really get much for it aside from Crappy. They will close him down, but they lost Zetman for it. The whole hog does get committed out of Modest, but he doesn't really get much. They finally close out on the back end of that onto a couple of the healers, and SunSister should be able to keep this one alive. Calman's going to commit. It's already down. Yeah, very bad timing, and also Dizzy goes wide with the Pulse Bomb. That was really awkwardly committed by AHQ, 2 very late ultimates with no defensive ones to keep them alive. XQQ still had a tactical visor, which he ended up using after that. But hey, look, they hold the point still, SunSister.
This would be like the ultimate opposite day if AHQ get first help. I don't know what I would say to that.
Here's the big commit though. They throw out the mech to force the positioning. They throw out the sound barrier to keep themselves alive. They've already got the second, third. They're looking decent in this one. XQQ with the nano boost, but not the visor, as now the sound barrier comes out to try and keep SunSister in this one because they are looking a little bit hard on this one. And Odinkun, nothing with the self-destruct. AHQ should be able to secure this one now if they can take out Odinkun.
Finally.
Yeah, at long last, that's the one they were hunting for. And patient play, opposite day, not so much, and AHQ will actually cap this.
You can always trust Eric to get the job done. When neither your DPSs can get in there, Eric's the man to get it done. Like I said, DPSs can't get it done, Eric cleans up.
Yeah,
That's why he's my MVP.
Erican is a lot like Bob the Builder in that way. This is a very
yes, he can.
This is very deep play by AHQ, but this is very usual now. And actually Dizzy going even further forward. This is really intense. They pick Zetman. It pays off. Are they going to like spawn camp them way back here on this final point while the payload is still pushing for the second point?
Okay, so this is not uncommon from teams, and again, we've seen Flash Wolves in a similar position against AHQ, where Flash Wolves decide, do we go for the spawn camp, do we go for the push? Flash Wolves wanted to go for the push, AHQ more so looking for a spawn camp. They've actually pulled back now, so they don't want to overcommit positioning-wise, which I respect. They got enough kills, they pushed SunSister back enough. Now it's time to reconsolidate and play 6v6, because you don't want to be forcing yourself into a 5v6 for too long, not more than you have to.
Yeah, certainly not. But look, they got enough mileage, and I think getting 2 kills was really the key thing for that, because it was actually a 5 versus 4. They were happy to take that. It's a great pulse bomb. Not quite enough damage to close it out, unfortunately, and Modest will take a breather. Now XQQ opening up with this tactical visor up on the high ground, trying to really run down Dizzy, which is actually just drawing him away from the mainstay of the fight. And now he's going to have to wheel back around, runs right into the face of Cowman, and he's not having a great time here. Will finally get the kill, but took a long time to affect the fight. Luckily, the rest of his team has kind of held down the fort for now, and AHQ have opted to not throw in some ultimates that they could have, given that they have lost their 2 DBS, but still maybe even looking to commit here, Erica.
Yeah, totally. They use both the defensive ultimates, Transcendence and also Sound Barrier. AHQ are not giving this one up. Less than 1 minute left to go, and this is just a lot of determination from AHQ.
Yeah, that's the sound barrier from SunSister, which buys them a good amount of time. AHQ just kind of have to last that one out, and they unfortunately lose 80 boss. They don't have any defensive ultimates of their own. They do have Erican to buy them time if he wants to commit the primal rage. He's going to go. He spotted the 2 healers, looking to really go deep onto both of them. No sleep dart available just yet. And they're starting to finally close out the kills here. Looking to get Zetman before he gets this Earth Shatter. That would be very big for them.
Kalman got shut down.
Yeah, that's very, very
Kalman
big,
lost
actually.
his blade.
Yeah, AHQ have not closed out these kills. SunSister held on only by a hair's breadth, but that's all it takes.
20 seconds left to go. Nothing left in the bank for AHQ. They overcommit. I said, look, they're determined to make it work, and I think they should have probably let that push go, reconsolidate with all their ultimates, and re-push properly. With 10 seconds left, the cart's so far away, they can't even fight. They have to get to the cart.
They have to run past this nano-boosted soldier who's throwing out so much damage. Now the tactical visor as well. No one here to contest. This is going to be a holdout of SunSister. Oh dear.
You know what this? Okay, it's not just over yet, but it might as well be because this is not going to achieve much. 2 supports versus everyone.
Well, they're buying a lot of time, and certainly
Lazy Titan on soldier even.
Oh, that's this whole hog. Yeah, no one's going to get close enough to this. Look, this is AHQ trickling in. It's that simple, and there goes the overtime.
Boy. I'll tell you what, if you're SunSister right now and you're digging your grave, you just threw the shovel back in AHQ's face.
Yeah, or like you finished digging it, and then you like threw it back at them, and in their shock, you climbed out of the grave, shoved them in, and you're like, ha-ha!
Oh, not just quite yet. For that to happen, they'd have to win a match.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. AHQ are about to go on defense, and they're meant to be. I'm really hesitant to say it now because they're not looking super great today, but they are meant to be super dominant on defense.
Everything we've said, like, on paper, this is how this match should turn out.
They're normally first hold.
Remember the time they first held blank on King's Row? Yeah, let's see if they can do that again.
Yeah, well,
remember that time?
If Detonator can get a better series result than blank against AHQ, then I think SunSister can get past the first point against AHQ today.
And look, AHQ, I don't want to say they barely did it because they did do it, but they did it in overtime. And then had they kept that second point, it would have been in overtime too. So that's not a good offense by any measure.
But we're coming into Attack on King's Row with SunSister and with XQQ.
Who knows?
So here's the thing.
Knows what's going to 6 DPS.
Okay, SunSister I do not think are coordinated enough to get past a well-mounted AHQ defense. Note I said well-mounted because so far the offense from AHQ is whatever that was that we just saw. The biggest mistake was the hyper overcommitment twice now, one on the first cap and another in Streets phase where they just wouldn't give it up. They just did not, for whatever reason, want to give up the fight, no matter how dire it was. And on a macro sense, it absolutely cost them so much.
I do just want to see them play Protect the Dizzy here. And I'm also going to be honest, look, Tracer Genji on offense wasn't working for them because both were trying to just play it like it was control and harass the backliners, and then they're like, all right, and Erican, you can be our main DPS that's actually cleaning up these fights. And he was like, okay, I guess, and they just, it was never really gonna work, man. They were relying on SunSister to, I don't know, just drop the ball or something.
We're not gonna get Erican on the hard carry Winston. He's gonna have to hold the fort and let Dizzy do the hard carrying this time around.
Triple tank, Protect the Dizzy. This is AHQ in AHQ territory.
This is super the day for AHQ. Let's see if they can pull it off.
This is super the month. This is the seasonal dish. As in, this super's well seasoned. And unfortunately, already picking one of the tanks who wasn't able to thread the needle and get a pick. That's actually very unfortunate for AHQ. So you're right, if they set it up well, right now, actually, SunSister are really giving them a run for their money.
If Eric goes down, it's over.
Yeah, Discord now into Erican, and you're right, it is probably over. They do actually get a good trade back taking out Night Owls. There will be no more Discord orbs, but look, they'd already got one of the tanks before that who has now swapped off a tank anyway so that he can get close to the point. 2/3 up already for SunSister. Surely they can grab this one. They still got plenty to go off in this fight. I would like to see them continue to commit here. They do need to get another pick to really make it happen, but actually kind of back off for a moment here. That was odd. They gave AHQ space that they shouldn't have given them.
Well, here's the thing. Kalman actually reinforced really quickly because he changed onto the Tracer. This is going to affect their ability to protect Dizzy now. It does give them a little bit more options offensively with the damage output, but I don't think they're going to be able to safely protect Dizzy as much as they can.
But they picked Night Owl, so it might not even matter as a very dangerous charge comes in from...
Nice 1v1.
Very nice.
This is the thing. Dizzy does not give up position. You can't just force him up like that. He won't walk away from 1v1.
Yeah. He won't just leave. You have to beat him. And that's what Dive the Dizzy is all about. Well, in any case, the SunSister were actually looking really strong for a moment, but AHQ not going to let the same thing happen twice.
Well, the big mistake was Kalman getting caught out in the hotel there, gets a Discord orb onto him and gets killed by, who is it, Night Owl at the end of the day. So that 6v5 really helped SunSister.
XQQ trying to play Dive the Dizzy. He has to deal with Eddie Boss first and has to leave Dizzy behind here. That was 3 ultimates on top of him. His own Dragon Blade, the Nano Boost, and the Sound Barrier to keep him alive, as Dizzy is still alive. He's nearly dead, but that doesn't matter. They didn't exactly get any kills, and SunSister members did die. Now Dizzy back into a tidy position, and SunSister have nothing to go on.
It's not Dizzy's favorite positioning on the map, but he'll take it for now because it's better than being dead. He's going to look for I think he needs to look for there you go, the trace on the side. Finds him.
Well, Dizzy is dizzy, and he's making me dizzy. Look at him swinging about. Whew. That's a Transcendence finding no one.
What's making me dizzy is SunSister's coordination right now.
There was no one there to experience the tranquility. He was like, guys, experience it, and no one was there.
He's like the guy on the street handing out flyers, like, please experience my tranquility.
Yeah, and everyone's just walking past, like, tranquility loves you.
Oh, well. SunSister, like I said, this is where they're going to struggle is coordination-wise. They got a couple dudes trying to go into Dizzy, can't secure Dizzy. Couple guys trying to get the cap on the ground, can't secure that either. Runs in with the Transcendence, doesn't really help his team at all. Ends up being a bit of a waste, and now SunSister totally behind.
Now AHQ, take a deep breath. This is the only one you really need to do it on, and this is where they have actually faltered a little bit just on that last moment. There we go, picking Night Owl, they've got Elu too. That's all they really needed. Erican with a good Earth Shatter connecting, the self-destruct as well. They had everything to throw at it. This is actually a quick enough wipe that SunSister will probably get time for another push, but that was at least well executed by AHQ. That is a moment where they're false.
You see what I'm talking about coordination? Wallace was just in a totally different place than where the rest of his team was. And his team was, on the plus side, he was like,
looking for the tranquility.
He was like alive. He was alive when the rest of his team was getting killed. But, I mean, he's also just not even helping his team in that stage.
All right, well, let's see. Maybe XQQ can get a Mammoth Dragon Blade, but Dizzy already in a good position. Oh, they throw everything at him to keep him alive. Yeah, and he deals with XQQ mid Dragon Blade. Now onto the slow ground to clean it on. Up as he finds Elu, looking to take out basically everyone. It's not just Owen Kun, it's not just Zetman. Dizzy, like I said yesterday, he's on a collect call. He has everyone's number.
Yes,
and this is going to be, at long last, today, something we expected out of AHQ, a first hold on Hybrid.
Yeah, if Blank can't get past this, you don't get past this SunSister either. It just, on paper, they should just never happen.
Despite a good hold out of SunSister, despite an unexpected offense, AHQ's defense was exactly what we expected.
Yeah, this is the play that I want AHQ to have, and not the kind of, I don't know, over-committal kind of style, like, uncanny kind of AHQ that we've been sort of seeing here and there so far against the Japanese teams.
Yeah.
Oh, this will be a treat.
Yeah. Well, I suppose the real test, though, arguably, is actually going to be Assault. That is where Detonator took the map. So maybe
don't
that's
pick
where
Volskaya again.
right?
Maybe you do actually. Maybe you pick Volskaya again and you just prove to everybody that you can.
Yeah, you're like, nah, guys, that was just a mistake. But also, I mean, they picked Lijiang twice. Maybe they have just prepped some certain maps for today. So that would actually be a reason to pick Volskaya.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, again, a lot of the pros were picking Lijiang before. The reason that they will pick it 2 times in a row, right? You've got fresh in your mind, especially even more so than Lijiang Tower. You're sitting there thinking, okay, we really messed up Volskaya, and we really had a big talk. Probably the majority of the talk during the break was about Volskaya.
It was about Volskaya.
So it's, again, very, very fresh.
And it was in Russian too.
Yeah, they had to learn Cyrillic.
That's why they lost, actually. They didn't know Russian before.
Yeah, they hadn't quite got it yet. They're like, what's a Torvnestein?
What is a Tobelstein? Yeah.
What's a Tobelstein? So what she actually says, it is just Russian for fire at will. We learned this yesterday because we were like, what is it? She says, Ogon po gotovnosti.
It's actually in the tech support video that Jeff Kaplan released.
Yeah.
Someone asked him that. And
and he, bless.
Yeah, it is. Case, I do think the possibility of Volskaya is there because AHQ shouldn't feel threatened. Like, even if they drop a map to SunSister, they shouldn't care too much because they know, look, we're expected to win anyway, and they're not at risk of actually dropping the series. Now, to other teams, if they look and they'll be like, whoa, they dropped the map, it's actually kind of throws off the rest of the teams because they think, well, AHQ got worse, but technically AHQ is just trying stuff. I'm willing to give them that benefit of the doubt, specifically for Volskaya if they're going to do that.
Yeah, and if nothing else, it would suggest that if other teams are hunting to do the same thing to AHQ, they're not going to find it because AHQ are going to go, no, that's not on the table. That's not something you can find. So let's take a look at the picks actually that came through in that as well. And I kind of want to pick your brain, Smite, about that particular matchup. Because, like I said, at last, we saw something expected out of AHQ.
And more importantly, we saw something normal out of XQQ, right? He didn't play Mei.
They started on the Hanzo.
He played Soldier the whole way through. That was amazing.
And Genji on attack as well for XQQ. AHQ actually paying a little bit of an homage to XQQ, troll picking Mei at the start on their attack as well. I saw that and thought, oh, is it XQQ on attack first? But no. But no, I've got eyes for that kind of thing.
Yeah, he's like the XQQ master right now.
I'm watching.
That's the one thing you're always paying. Like, what's he picked? What is it?
Well, it's more like I look at the top of the screen. I'm like, Mei? Really? XQQ? Okay.
At this point, though, it's almost like, what? Soldier?
Yeah.
I don't believe it. Is this the same guy?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, he played something normal on defense, which was kind of expected anyway, but he still played Genji on attack, and it didn't have fantastic results, but I think that's more to do with how the team was playing as a whole, rather than Mei would have been a better pick, right? It's not like they would have got up to contest Dizzy at all. Mei would not have been better for that. They didn't have the right composition to shut off one of the tanks with the wall and pin it with a Reinhardt. They weren't running that on attack, and even if they were, I still don't think that AHQ would have let that happen. So even though, yeah, XQQ playing a little bit normally, probably played better than if he was on Mei, it's more how the team was working as a whole that didn't work out.
And you actually pointed out something there as well. Like, Mollis kind of looked like he was on a different team a lot of the time. He was in different places, he was doing different things. Maybe that was the call, maybe that was intended, but it certainly didn't look like there was a lot of coordination going on there.
And that's the problem I kind of highlighted at the start is I don't think SunSister will get past the first cap because I don't think their attacking coordination is just good enough. I mean, even when you look at XQQ, the guy is kind of on his own as well. He's playing Lone Wolf no matter what he's playing. Specifically, if you focus on his Genji play, yeah, he goes for the kind of real heavy backline diving, like solo play. This is why you see him get caught out and just lose Dragon Blaze to nothing and just not get a lot of work done a lot of times. Really safe Genji players wouldn't really play like that. They would more play with their team and look for more safe opportunities where they have a higher chance to get off the kills on specifically Dragon Blade.
And if you're going to dive with the Dragon Blade and the Nano Boost and then the Sound Barrier, you actually still need to have someone diving with you. Like, you still need to have a Winston or something on top of you on top of that. Like, you can't just do it yourself, even with all those resources. And the fact that with all those resources he still failed, there are a lot of Genjis that actually would have still succeeded even if they didn't have support. So, I mean, that doesn't bode well for the guy.
No, I mean, it is something that a lot of pro teams are discussing right now with Genji, is that it can be a little bit hit or miss when he goes in, right? I mean, something as small as a sleep dart or a hook, or even a biotic grenade can shut that down right away. And it's really quite risky, especially when you're throwing Nano Boost on it.
What? Yeah, and I mean, look, we live in a meta as well where you can actually pull out Roadhogs to get that hook, you can pull out Arnas to get that sleep dart. There are a lot more things just commonly enough picked right now that can shut down a Genji, that it's not just, yeah, look, we'll pick Genji as our DPS. I will actually say AHQ did seem to struggle a bit when they were running Genji Tracer. I don't know, do you guys have anything in particular to say about that?
Yeah, I don't think, again, Dizzy so far is trying to improve on the Tracer, and I think this is a good time. If any time you're going to bring out the Dizzy Tracer, probably against the two Japanese teams are going to be your safe bets, and even then it's a bit shaky, so I don't know.
Certainly against Detonator.
His Tracer still has some work to go. Now, Cowman on Genji has always been a little bit hit or miss. He's had good moments, he's had some sort of average moments, and the real problem is they don't have a lot of chances to practice their dive together because Dizzy rarely brings out the Tracer, and also Cowman doesn't always sit on the Genji. He plays Hog, he plays Zai, he's got other picks too. So to put two of them together and then make them work together specifically on that dive isn't something they do too often.
To his credit, he did look better. He looked quite good on the end of Route 66, but yeah, he actually just looked a little bit better in general, at least compared to some recent previous performances on Tracer. I think the next thing for him is consistency. Like, he's still not anywhere near really the level of Bacon Jack or Eat You Up, or
no way.
Even sometimes players like Amiken on Tracer are looking a little bit better than him more often than he is, but I do feel his ceiling is quite a bit higher. His ceiling is theoretically as high as it is on Soldier.
I quite like the pulse bombs coming out of Dizzy. I think those have been quite good.
Yeah, he's started landing those a lot, where actually previously he, and even Bacon Jack as well, was missing them. It was something we highlighted yesterday even. Bacon Jack was getting a lot more success than Dizzy in general with those pulse bombs when he was playing.
Yeah, it's also a playstyle thing, whereas I think Dizzy is very much a boots planted in a single spot and he just wants to sit there. He doesn't want to move, he just wants to sit there. And he'll do that on McCree, he'll do it on Soldier. Suddenly you chuck him onto Tracer, super different playstyle, and you got to flank,
you got
to be moving along. It's quite jarring, so it's something mentally that you have to wrap your head around for a player like Dizzy. And you actually see, specifically on Kings Road defense, he gets challenged as a soldier, XQQ dives him, he says, I'm not giving the space up. Other soldiers would run, other soldiers would very likely give it away, not Dizzy. Even when even when you see Odenkun dive him with the D.Va as well, he doesn't run. He stands his ground, he'll fight that D.Va. This is something very particular to Dizzy, extremely good at holding his ground. That's his playstyle. He's kind of the master of it.
He knows when he can hold his ground,
yes.
More importantly.
And also, he knows when he can't, right? He's throwing it all the way back to Route 66 when he had something like 4 guys diving right on top of him. Suddenly, that's when you see Lazy Titan flying into the rescue, keeping him alive. I mean, at that point, I think Dizzy probably could have just even survived. He's that good. But at the same time,
well,
yeah, okay, so we probably wouldn't have. But
we like to think
he wouldn't have survived that one.
No, he wouldn't have survived. I'm just exaggerating for his sake, but he does have Lazy Titan always on hand, and even when Lazy Titan's not, he does always have his support player up there. Either Eddie Boss or Keris are going to be up there on the Ana as well. I mean, Kings Row, most fresh in our mind, right? Ana is usually up there in the window with him, and, you know, they can always jump out, of course. Throw a grenade on him, make his biotic field a whole lot more potent for healing himself, keeping him up in that 1v1, and you can jump out, and Dizzy's fine to stay. And if you're not getting focused, you stay up there and heal him.
There's actually something interesting kind of related to that Jongi mentioned yesterday after their series, where he talks about how he makes a point to stay within his healer's sightlines. It's not up to the healers to keep looking for him. He wants to make sure it is easy as for them as possible to heal him. And actually that's something Dizzy does much the same. Not that other DPSs don't, but he does it very consistently. He's very cognizant, I feel, of where his team is positioned. I think that's a lot of why he can choose to hold his ground where a lot of other soldiers would give it up. They go, oh, I need to back up to my healers.
Also, he knows when he can win the 1v1s because, look, it's very clear when we compare Route 66 and Kings Row, Lazy Titan came straight away. I think there's a level of communication and teamwork there where it's like, I'm definitely not holding this. Lazy Titan comes and saves him. Whereas versus XQQ dies him, he says, I can win this. Lazy Titan doesn't even show up because the communication has been made. Dizzy stands his ground, he says, I can win this, and he does.
Yeah, and that's a very good understanding of your limits, which is exactly what we were just talking about. And the thing you kind of bring up there is how the rest of the team plays into it. I mean, if we identify AHQ as being a protect the Dizzy, it's also how well they can execute when they don't need to protect the Dizzy, right? That's why they don't just seem like a team that is, if Dizzy's winning, we're winning. If Dizzy's not, we're not, right? That's why they still win, even when Dizzy does sometimes get picked off.
It can come down to even those 1v1s, those times where Dizzy says, yeah, okay, cool, I've got this, can even come down to just both teams tracking their ults. A big example of that in Kings Row, Dragonblade comes out for XQQ and he says, all right, cool, I'm gonna go kill Dizzy. But then Dizzy, along with the Nano Boost, has his tactical visor and easily shuts it down. You could see immediately XQQ just turned around. He did turn around and kill Eddie Boss though, so that was a little bonus kill, but he was really going for Dizzy,
cool.
Right? Yeah.
You're here too.
Yeah, so, but then he had to jump away and give away the top prize, right? And that just comes down to just tracking ultimates.
Gentlemen, I was actually just about to say, what do we think they're going to pick? But never mind, we've found out. We're going back to Volskaya. So yeah, look, AHQ have clearly just prepped. These are their maps. These are what we're going to pick tonight. All right. What are we expecting out of this? This is the one they dropped to Detonator.
I'm expecting them to do the exact same thing, but do it better, because this is the kind of what AHQ are here to practice, what they're here to do, and they need to be able to show that they can achieve it, or they can pretty much never bring this back again.
I'm actually going to make a quick addendum to that. I expect them to do the same thing. I hope that they do it better. I don't know if I expect them to just do it better. Like, you'd think that they would, but I've stopped saying on paper tonight because
SunSister are still not quite up to scratch compared to Detonator. So even when you look at it like that, ASU should be doing this better, because I'm not even looking at it from a versus the other team, but more so within their own team internally. How are they executing the Sombra defense, and can they, can they coordinate that properly? And so far against Detonator, the answer was no. And I think if you were right and they did go away between games and said, look, maybe that's what they're talking about, specifically Volskaya, then they need to be able to bring that discussion now and translate it into the gameplay.
So looking back at their first point defense against Detonator, right? It felt like they saw Detonator go up on that left-hand path into the building, into that tight space, and AHQ kind of just all piled in there, tried to just brute force them out of there with their numbers, but they kind of forgot there's still a few guys left on the ground, left on the other balcony, still far away, so you run in there with a numbers disadvantage. They ended up throwing out the EMP, and also I feel like this was a bit of a theme of that map, was that EMPs were thrown out and there was nothing to capitalize on it. That was also on Detonator as well, so not just an AHQ thing, but not much to capitalize there. And then of course, Detonator were happy to just turn around, pick up a few easy kills, because the teamfight advantage that AHQ should have had just wasn't leveraged at all, and Detonator were okay. Also, running the brawl composition with that McCree, it denies a lot of brawling in that small area just because of that flashbang. It's a real big threat zone. Well, it's a small threat zone, but it's a dangerous one.
Yeah, and I kind of want to speak to the other side of this as well, because I think we have to be frank in saying SunSister are one of the teams that do struggle to fit the Sombra in, much like Detonator do, mind you, but I mean, look, if AHQ are going to pull out the Sombra and it's going to be terrible, if SunSister pull it out, I would expect it to be more terrible. That is an if, granted, but that would still speak to AHQ being favored here. And let's also admit they have been favored coming into this entire series.
Strangely enough, I can't recall XQQ playing Sombra, so is it like one of the only picks that you just...
Is the one thing.
Never say never, but I mean, like,
That's the thing, they screenshot the whole thing and then they just scribble out Sombra. They just get a marker and just a permanent marker and just scribble it out.
Sombra's invisible, so they don't even see it. I don't know. I think I'm not convinced by Anakin playing Sombra, just because, like we've discussed, putting your main DPS, specifically Anakin, which is your star DPS, on a Sombra is just like, what?
Yeah,
so, I don't know.
And SunSister's healers aren't exactly Sombra Flex either, which is who normally flexes onto it.
But they are, because Night Owl previously was a DPS player for SunSister before he switched on to support. So you absolutely have a Sombra player there.
Sure, it's a similar skill set, right?
But he hasn't yet.
That's the thing, right? We haven't actually seen it yet. So sure, we can say, yeah, he's got a similar skill set, should have all the tools to be able to flex onto this, but we haven't seen SunSister on Volskaya or a few of the Sombra maps for a while now, so we'll see if maybe they are going to pull it out tonight, but on paper, which is something we've been saying a lot and it just ends up not being true, they haven't actually brought it out.
We've got a very dubious book written here with all these on-paper assertions we've made. In any case, once again, thank you very much, Smite, and we will see you on the far side of Volskaya. That is my second favorite Pink Floyd album. And no one? Alrighty then. Well, in any case...
They've moved the dance floor onto the roof.
Yeah. I love this. I can't get enough of this ad.
This is what Winston looks like when he's riding the subway.
Just non-stop. He emoted as well. That's beautiful.
All right. Might actually be a snipe coming out from XQQ. It's not impossible. He does. We know he plays a Widow. He's got a good shot on the Widow. It's just, again, it's how does a team actually, A, enable him to get the kills, and then B, what do they do after they get the kills? Are they going to convert that into further advantage? That's the next level macro decisions that SunSister got to make as a team.
Well, here they are taking their time, and oh dear, Eddie Boss headshotting out Night Owl is very unfortunate. They're also running a Mercy on top of this as well, which I find quite interesting. I would assume that they're going to use that for tempo after they get a couple of opening picks and want to commit to the fight, but oh no, look at this. Eddie Boss has gone straight on to XQQ to kind of screw him up in getting shots.
He's like on 42% ult charge already. Specifically getting that first kill onto Night Owl would have really helped him out. So I talk about timing so much against a Sombra composition, and SunSister are wasting a lot of time. They're definitely playing into EMP.
Yeah, Eddie Boss and Dizzy are just kind of like tag teaming to go in and harass XQQ. He hasn't got a single pick
Mercy
off.
down.
And yeah, Mercy down. Now they've gone straight after the healers, then close out on XQQ. The only one who dies for AHQ here is Calman.
And look, they don't even need the EMP to get the stun. This is what they need to be doing with EMP when it's activated. And before it's...
oh no. BM, boys.
I'm out of here.
I'm out. Yeah, wow. Oh.
What would have been BM is if Eddie Boss went and hacked that health pack in the middle of that room as well.
Just
yeah.
Then they would.
I would have liked that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been super useful, but it would have just been annoying.
Would have just. It's about sending a message. Well, look, XQQ finally got someone, so it pays off for him. But now. That's going to be the EMP coming through. It doesn't actually affect XQQ specifically too much,
no hook shot.
but it forces SunSister back. And
no hook shot's important.
Yeah, well, yeah, it stops him from getting aerials, but in terms of the potential
stops
damage
him from getting away.
It certainly doesn't stop the potential damage output, but you're actually quite right, and yeah, it routes SunSister. That's all they really needed, because look, ADBoss is going to have his ultimate back before long anyway.
This actually buys time for Dizzy to get back in, so importantly, when I talk about timing here for AHQ, playing the EMP there is good. It does route SunSister like you said, and now they get to play with 6 again, and they've already been winning 6v6, ults or no ults, so that's where AHQ want to be. They don't want to be, wow, 2 in a row, in a row.
But that's the only 2 kills he's got. It's been Dizzy twice.
Yeah, but that's Dizzy.
Yeah, well, look, in any case, here goes the commitment out of the other guy. It's Cowman. He gets XQQ, avenges his fallen brother. Eric gets the kill credit. Oh, the health back. It's not hacked. Oh no, that is heartbreaking.
What is that?
The hack had run out and it hadn't actually respawned. Blame Eddie Boss, blame team. In any case, SunSister are trying to commit to this fight. Odinkin with a good self-destruct, but AHQ do actually have enough time to get back into this one, and Erican will be able to commit an ultimate to it. The Primal Rage, there it goes to buy time, and if they really want, they could throw out Lazy Titan as well. Mollis finds less than nothing with the Dragon Blade, goes down, and AHQ are going to complete this hold, even though there was a moment they had a huge numbers disadvantage on the point.
Yeah, look at that. Erican, triple kill. The guy just does it. He does the job when no one else can.
There's the res. XQQ had picked Eddie Boss, and there's the res. That's going to be the ultimate to come out of Lazy Titan, though. Oh, and it gets only the 1, but Elu was forced into basically Cowman territory and goes down for it. Dizzy cleans up the point, and despite the res coming through, AHQ still hold, and now SunSister just have less tools.
And they will really have wanted that, they're going to want another res going into this next push, but it's just not going to happen. Elu knows that. He's going to switch on to Lucio. In fact, SunSister changing up the composition pretty heavily now. XQQ finally going on to something like a McCree. He debuted on a McCree here. He was fantastic on McCree, so I'm expecting a lot out of this, but it is at the final hour.
Yeah, final hour indeed. That's going to be the nano boost on top of Zetman. I actually quite enjoy this when it goes on to the Winston, but it's not going to be anywhere near enough because AHQ have already cleaned up SunSister before it's even started. Zetman doesn't even have time to ult. I don't even know if they're going to get an overtime here at this rate as Elu gets picked off, and just barely going to touch onto it, but they're not really got anything to go on with this one. And AHQ once again going back to the by the book, and on paper they should get a first hold, and in practice they do.
I'm kind of stunned that it looks like under preparation from SunSister, because if you'd watched the Detonator games, you know what AHQ are going to do here because you just saw it.
Yeah.
So AHQ going to run Sombra on their first cap. They're just going to run Sombra defense the whole way through. You know that as SunSister, so why play a super slow pick-oriented composition that you're going to spend a long time waiting when you should understand going up against Sombra, you have a specific timing for attacking. You got to get in there fast, get the picks fast, and just roll over the defense while they're running a Sombra.
You don't want to give Sombra the time.
No second healer, no EMP, no nothing, and that's your best time to beat a Sombra defense. They run a Widowmaker and they sit back and just wait.
And they also ran the Mercy. When they finally got that through, it wasn't good enough.
Also, let's not forget as well, the team composition that AHQ were running on defense, which, by the way, ran a very similar one against Detonator. It's just very dive heavy, very mobile, can get in the backlines, and we saw how often they were just getting harassed on XQQ, on the Mercy as well, just constant free damage on them. Even if it's not picking up kills, that's ultimate charge, which, as AVRL mentioned, that EMP, just integral to that composition, just for holding very easily, often.
Yeah. A poor read by SunSister, and also cleaner execution out of AHQ than what they did against Detonator. You know, it's kind of a combination of both, but it results in a first hold from AHQ. Now, all they really have to do is cap a third. This is also so doable.
The difference is Detonator got that early headshot kill onto Eddie Boss, who was playing Sombra, which severely slowed down the EMP charge time, whereas this time around, Eddie Boss was one that got the opening kill onto, I believe, it was Night Owl, so it was a total opposite. So before Zenyatta killing Sombra, this time Sombra kills Zenyatta, and it fast-tracked the EMP instead of slowing it down.
Yeah, in any case, going to be running this Dizzy on Tracer again. Coming back to the Genji, looking to go for a bit more of a dive sort of thing. Onto SunSister, who are running actually almost the exact same thing themselves, Sans and Zenyatta. Dizzy getting picked off at the top is actually a little bit unfortunate for them.
XQQ always kills Dizzy. That's just been happening.
It's just, you know, grass green, sky blue.
Yep. XQQ playing. I want to see SunSister take advantage though, because the thing is, yeah, you killed Dizzy, but where are you going to take it after that? They seem to be quite content with just the opening kill, and then they'll just sort of leave things as be. It's not all bad news, but eventually, because they're playing dive as well, both teams are playing dive, and both teams are also just poking. They're waiting for the right moment to actually go in.
Yeah, I feel like it's only a matter of time, to be honest. Cowman now set up on the side. Actually has to go into retreat. SunSister do kind of spot that one out and deal with it handily, but now Dizzy's starting to harass on the other side. And over time, between Dizzy and Cowman here, they should be able to make this an overwhelming thing.
It looks like AHQ should push any moment because they have the defensive ultimates. If they go now, they won't die, and they should be able to pick up kills before SunSister get ultimates.
There's the commit. It's going to be Erican going on top of XQQ. That opens the way for their DPS as Dizzy picks out Zetman, and this is the open up. XQQ trying to find something, but they're not even finding on the point. AHQ are set on this point. They had those defensive ultimates out. They didn't really get enough for it, though, unfortunately, as the two healers did die afterwards. They need to close out a few more kills still here, AHQ, but they are definitely in shape to do it still. XQQ going down, and that's that.
That was quick. AHQ, I don't know if they got a barbecue plan after this, like Flash Wolves do, but
barbecue, yeah. Well, there you have it.
Yeah, I mean that's all they needed. They needed to find. They were very patient. They eventually kind of outpoking SunSister a little bit and just forcing the ground out. And as soon as you get past the choke as a diving team and you open up the space everywhere else, that's when your DPS is really thriving. And this might be on the defense. I'm not mistaken. It is on the defense. Yeah. This is when he picks up like 3 kills in a row, something like that. And I'm going to be pretty upset if Erican doesn't get MVP.
That was a very nice offense as well, because what they did, I got a brief opportunity to touch on it, but they'd send Cowman in one side, and then he would kind of get beaten back, and they'd send Dizzy in another, and the entire team of SunSister would kind of have to wheel around and go, oh, this guy now. And then they would have topped off Cowman, he would go back in, and every single time, like the more it happened, eventually SunSister were in this point where they're like, okay, we can either just give ground, which is all the ground that AHQ need, or we can stay here and slowly lose health and slowly lose any kind of positional advantage and just give away ult charge, which is exactly what happened. They finally went, look, we're going to back up a half step. Erican saw that, went straight on in, and it was just beautiful execution.
I think it's just walking into a dive composition that is just going to jump over you no matter where you are, whether you're sitting at your spawn, whether you're marching towards the point to try and gain ground. You're still going to have Winston jumping on you. You're still going to have Genji and even Sombra jumping all over you. It's just not a composition that works very well. You have to find such a difficult path to get to capturing that point that it's really just where you say, oh, look, this is not going to be working. Widow, please switch.
And they switch, but like, what, in the last minute of the final hour? No ultimates left to play with. That's when you really need to come in with something big to blow up, just really kick down the door. And it was more like they're just still just knocking somebody's home. But it's too little too late, I think. They spent too long trying to get something done that just I don't think was going to work really, especially you're playing against a Sombra. Timing is really important. XQQ got a few picks onto Dizzy, but beyond that, couldn't even capitalize. It wasn't like SunSister then turned that pick into another pick. It was just like, cool, kill Dizzy, nothing else happened.
Yeah, it's almost like exactly what seems to happen to us all in solo queue, where like the Widowmaker is doing nothing and you're like, oh, Widow, please swap off. And then they kill someone. They kill like one guy. And then they feel justified. They're like, no, look, I got a kill. Like, I'm not going to swap off just yet. Like, it's starting to work. And then you're like, oh, right. And then you wait a bit and you're like, no, look, you're not getting anything. And then they get another kill. It's like, oh, I got it again. Like, and when you look at it over the course of the game, yeah, look, XQQ didn't pull enough weight. He didn't pull half enough weight.
But when you go back to your solo queue example, and we're even going to extend it to this match as well, right? When that Widowmaker does get that one kill, it's on the rest of the team, and the Widowmaker too, but on the rest of the team as well, to go in and capitalize off that kill. So your solo queue teams aren't doing it, and SunSister didn't do it either. They didn't jump in after getting that one kill onto Dizzy, no less, going into a 6v5.
And it's because they didn't really have the DPS.
Even at least getting position against that.
Yeah, that's important. So it's not even just about jumping. It's like, I'm going to blindly jump in, but really now we're going to pressure up positioning. Now we're going to force AHQ back because they shouldn't want to take a fight 5v6. And if they want to take a fight 5v6, well, they just did the jump in for us and we're going to capitalize even better. So that's kind of the next step that SunSister would be trying to take after that. But it's more like, cool, XQQ got a pick. Let's wait for XQQ to get the next
another pick.
But just didn't happen.
Yeah, and look, that is actually kind of how people often play Widowmaker when they do pull her out, is, you know, you get like 2 picks and then you kind of force the enemy team's hand, and like that's more than enough to capitalize on. But like, that's really one-dimensional.
That's a wrong way to play Widow.
It's
Look at how Blank, you see how Blank play Widow? They go for the dive first and then eat you up, gets to all the perfect sightlines after the defense gets flushed out.
And also I think it's a bit of a misunderstanding of when that gets pulled out, because Blank pull it out, I would say specifically on Anubis, where because of the shape of the map, you force the enemy team's positioning, even just by having Widowmaker picks a side. And that's actually not the same on Volskaya. It's just not. You would need to get minimum 2. But that wasn't happening.
Even then, I would trust Blank to operate a Widow composition properly, because they understand.
Yeah, if they were to run,
they understand how to leverage that Widow pick as much as possible.
And they'd also probably understand to not do it, because they could probably do something that's more likely to be effective.
Also, yes.
Yeah, it's all about the sightlines on Volskaya as well. Like, compared to Anubis, there's no safe place for a Widowmaker to stand while having a good sightline on the point itself. You can have a look at the balconies, that's fine, but there's still no great place to hide in cover when you're doing it. That little tunnel at the choke point, right? That's okay, but again, you can't see the actual point itself. You can't see the tunnels off to the right at all. So you just don't have a lot of opportunity, and importantly, you don't have a place where the rest of your team can go in and force the enemy, the defending team, to be a little bit more defensive, move out of their defensive spot like you can on Anubis, and then that's when the Widow pounces. It's not an option as easily on Volskaya.
The other pick that I think was very odd was that Mercy. First of all, it doesn't exactly synergize with your DPS a whole lot there. Second of all, you're clearly needing it for a tempo res once you've got a couple of picks and you go for that positioning, and then they pick a couple of you back, and then you've traded, and then you go, all right, tempo res, and then you've got a big numbers advantage. So that's hard to execute in the first place, and you forego having something like, the extra utility out of a Zenyatta or an Ana or what have you. I feel like it was the wrong fit, both that and the Widowmaker. It was like they had these 4 good things, and then these 2 like.
You might be onto the same thing as what I'm about to say here, but they particularly wanted to use the damage boost on the Widowmaker to secure the Widowmaker picks, right? That's the main purpose.
And it still didn't work.
What that Mercy was doing, and it worked just to get the kills on the lowest HP hero anyway, which is Tracer 150. Yeah. So I mean, like, did you really need the damage boost there? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And even when they did get that 1 tempo res through, it still wasn't enough, because actually at that point tempo didn't matter, because AHQ still had all the value of all the ultimates.
No, that was like that Mercy that's sprinting back to the point at almost overtime and just trying to get that res to give your team any hope of still winning the game there.
And the enemy team had actually killed you because they just straight out aimed you, and then they still had all their ultimates.
We passed play of the game, which I think actually went to Crappy, so
there you go.
I'm gonna cry in a corner, but that's fine.
Surely there's a reason, but I kind of agree with you. I would have liked to see that go to Erican, actually. He was the one that capitalized the most. Yes, the double boop, that's why.
Yeah, just the one play. Yeah, I'm going to ignore everything else, but that one double boop, woo!
Yeah, wow. He broke it down, let me tell you. Wow.
No, I don't.
Erican does get a lot to the team, actually.
Actually, you know what? There's a sort of... one of the sort of jokes for AHQ is that because Crappy's the main caller, he like the things, he always sort of puts it out there as, like, everyone else gets all the praise, but, like, give some help to the callers as well. So I'm kind of also glad that, they do acknowledge Crappy, because, shot caller of the team, plays a Lucio role as well, usually underappreciated, so there you go.
Yeah, and it can't always go to Erican and Dizzy. AHQ win a lot.
No, it can go to them. If we want
every single time.
I think Kerry's has got the most MVPs.
Yeah, Kerry's has got at least 2.
He's got a few.
He's not even there today.
I know. Wouldn't it be crazy if he got one?
Yeah, he's not even playing in the man of the match. Kerry's.
Yeah, his cheerleading from the sidelines was so good.
No, I think Crappy's calling clearly took a step up between the 2 series, between the Japanese games, so I've got to say, probably deserves it.
Well, we should be able to jump on into an interview, possibly with Crappy, but we'll find out.
It's Lazy Titan.
There we go.
自己走到正中间。
习惯站左边。
怎么样？哎，这样打得好快哦。
That was a fast match.
打得很快，可是就是没有打好，也是没有打好，
It
很多
was
失
a
误
fast。match, but I don't think we
这
did
场也
well.
还是觉得很多失误，是不是？
然后队友就有点像被鬼抓走，对，心不在焉，队友。
今
很戳
天有特别感觉，大家都在分心是吗？
对啊，
尤其第一场比赛，你也这样觉得？
对，第一场打得很差。
说到那个队友好像被鬼抓走，今天在国王大道的时候，我有注意到，以前好像开局的时候是你会选夺命女，就是试射一下看可不可以狙到人，可是今天，为什么换笛子也是觉得你不够准，是不是？
因为他开场就秒锁夺命女，然后我说你最好把夺命女给我，你不给我是不是？好，那我就选个半杖，我帮你射。
那你妥协嘞？
妥协啊，没办法啊，我是小朋友啊。
Just he kind of stole it off him, so he picked the Hans and Scout.
不错，有种大哥哥在照顾队友的感觉。那今天其实还有看到国王大道一直有一个疑问是，你们才到 A 点而已，可是你们就是会杀到对方的重生点去，这是一个策略吗？还是你们就纯粹杀红颜？
就是我们就是看到了有机会，就是因为我们是刺客阵嘛，就看到有机会就是可以杀就杀。
可不觉得这样走太远了吗？就知道你们还要回来手车什么的。
If they see players, they jump on those players, and
杀到
we
自
make
己
the
头
call
破
to
血流。
focus the DPS
是头破血流，没错。现在想说，那阿森还跟我说，我不觉得这样比较好，可不知道为什么他们很爱这样。
可能阿森比较肤浅吧。
阿森比较肤浅，你肤浅第一超怪。我还有一点比较好奇是，我有的队伍他们是选手自己讨论，就是我这场要用什么阵型，或是我们要选什么图。有的好像是教练说了就算。你们的状况是怎么调整？
Some teams
都是教练会跟我们一起讨论。
The players pick the maps and the drafts.
然后再来选图。
Some teams the
所以
coaches
教练
do.
其实还是会听听你们的看法，然后再决定要怎么配。
For our team, our
刚
coach
刚主播赛评
Nico
说，他们
helps
有
us
偷
make
听
those
到
picks.
你和 Creepy 说我们是 AHQ 双侠，然后还击掌这样。请问怎么这么有自信？不是说表现不好？
因为我们刚去厕所的时候，Creepy 就一边尿尿一边我说，你知道我刚国王大道 A 点一次都没有死过。我说，我也是。他说原来就是我们两个在 carry 这4个雷包。
Apart from Crappy next to me at the urinal said, "Did you know on Kingsborough I didn't die once?" And Lazy Time said, "I didn't either. I think that means we
现在
carries."
全部都知道了，你心底真的觉得是靠你们两个守住吗？什么
真的是靠我们两个，没死过
He
嘛。
says we're
好
different.
了好了，那
Crappy and
下
I
次还
are
是要
the
继
big
续保
carries
持好
of
不
the
好？
team.
赶快把士气振奋起来。你不是说什么大家都跟小朋友一样，好好照顾他们，好不好？
可以。
那个就是等下现场观众，我们在所有的访问
so
结束之后，会
I hope you,
HQ 他们会有一个选手拍照时间，所以大家
Hope
可以
you take
标记
care
着
of
离
the
席。
rest
那
of
我
the
们
players.
马
And
上
also
进
the
入
hostess
更深
says,
入的
just
选
like
手访
Flashwolf
谈。
says, just like Flashwolf, they're gonna have sort of a post
Go for some barbecue.
match
Don't blame him. Don't blame him.
fan meet.
What?
Meet.
As in
Like fan
meet
meeting.
the fan. Okay,
Yeah.
Well, because yesterday one of the crucial things that Flash Wolves were going to do was like go and eat some meat, as in like go to a barbecue. So when you're like they're going to have some fan meat, like they're going to cannibalize
You know
their
what a fan
mates.
meet is? It's a fan.
Yeah, and then
short for
meeting the
fan
fans.
meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. I just assumed like Flash Wolves, you were talking about the barbecue thing. That
No,
really threw me
what?
off. I don't know.
They celebrate
I
differently
don't know.
here.
Can we just move on? In any case, that is AHQ. With that, we'll take a look at the leaderboards now because they have, of course, picked up themselves 2 further wins, pushes them a little bit further forward into that first place spot. Tighter wins than we were expecting, but you know what? A win is a win.
15-3. Yep, a decent lead. Flash Wolves might be able to pick up. Flash Wolves do play 1, so they have the potential to climb themselves up to 14. Or it's going to be Blank climbing up themselves to 13 as well. But either way, they're both 2 behind AHQ.
And actually, Blank can climb themselves up to 14 and 3. So that's the thing, right? The
That's
closest,
right, yeah, you're not wrong.
The closest anyone can get to them tonight is still 1 win behind. Now, there is still plenty of other opportunity for those teams to pick up those wins, etc., etc. But in any case, look, if any team in this top 3 is going to get bumped out of the top 3 in this round robin, it's not going to be AHQ. And that is having just lost to Flash Wolves yesterday as well. So that is a fairly comfortable spot for them, even though there are still things to work on. And with that, of course, we wrap up our first half of the night as well. AHQ picking up 2 wins against first Detonator Gold and then SunSister. And in the second half, we will get arguably our title bout as Blank Esports will play Flash Wolves and then go on to play Hong Kong Attitude. They also get themselves a nice home day. I wonder if they'll give away any shirts.
No arguments there, no doubts about it. Definitely the title bout.
This is
The big one.
yeah. Oh boy.
Well, it's a title bout for second place.
You're kind of not wrong. Like right now, yeah, it certainly is. And the thing that'll be interesting about this is if Blank lose, it kind of says they're on a downswing, and it would suggest that they can't beat these other top 3 teams. They can't beat Flash Wolves or AHQ. If they win, then it raises questions about Flash Wolves, who did just beat AHQ. And then, of course, if they lose, they have to play Hong Kong Attitude, who were the first team to take them to 5 games in I don't know how long. This was before they'd even lost anything.
But then they also came back and 3-0'd Hong Kong Attitude. So
Certainly.
that's a different thing. That's the most recent storyline. But also, we're in the 3rd round robin where Detonator is taking a map off of AHQ. AHQ have come back and 3-0'd Blank, and Flash Wolves have 3-0'd AHQ. It's all over
And the points don't matter.
Exactly, right? So, look, Hong Kong Attitude, we might go to that 5-game series. We might even see a 3-0. Which way will it go? At this point, it's kind of hard to tell. And I'm going to say it again, on paper, it should be Blank. But throwing that book out because it didn't help me in that AHQ series.
We're off the book. We're off the book completely, man. I don't know where these stories are going
Writing
anymore.
a new book, new
I
chapter.
feel like if anything, the first 2 round robins, they built a lot of suggestion, built sort of a body of knowledge, and then the first few games of this round robin went, all right, that's in the past. With that happened, this is how things are going now, and who knows where it ends up. I don't feel there is a trajectory anymore, even as we come through some of these matches that, quote unquote, answer questions. Look, even if Blank win this one, there's still the question of, well, how does this top 3 even look? And we won't answer it until the next round robin. If they lose, same thing again. Can they, still hold their own against the top 3? Well, we won't know until the next round robin. It'll actually just raise more questions no matter what, but we still want to know, who's it going to be?
We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah, we absolutely will find out. And we will, of course, find out after a bit of a break. Thank you for sticking with us through the first half of the night as AHQ pick themselves up 2 wins. And now in the second half, we come into Blank's consecutive home matches. First up against Flash Wolves. Very exciting one we're all looking forward to, so don't go.